Hello there. It is Friday, May 16th. And stop me if you've heard this one before. The Denver Nuggets are going to play in a game 7. That's right. Denver, the two best words in sports, game 7. And we're no stranger to those here in the Mile High City, as Denver has played in now will be their third straight game 7. I'm joined here by James Marilat. And before we get into the game 7, which we'll get to a little bit later on the show here, let's react to what we saw last night. Denver wins 119-107. I think there's two major storylines, and I just want to know, how will you remember the game? Will it be the Julian Strawther game, or will it be the Jamal Murray flu game?
I think it'll be the Julian Strawther game. I mean, Jamal, played really, really well, especially considering the fact that he was under the weather. And, an hour before the game, we weren't even sure he was going to play. So I'm not taking anything away from him. But Julian Strawther was the difference in the game. And in particular, it was that 8-point flurry he had at the end of the second quarter when it looked like, this might get away from Denver. All of a sudden, they're down double digits, and they end up tying it up right before the end of the first half. Dort hits a 3 to give the Thunder a 3-point lead going into the locker room. But to me, that was the difference in the game, because from then on, Denver really kind of controlled things. It was a little bit of a heavyweight, boxing match in the third quarter where everybody was just exchanging blows. But that was the key portion of the game, and he was the player that made it happen. So Julian Strawther game, that's what I'll remember it as.
No, I think that's very fair. I think there's two good answers there. I don't think you can go wrong. And I was a little nervous early in the game, towards the end of the first quarter. I want to say about 2 minutes left. Denver had 3 bench players out on the court at the same time. We haven't seen that too much in this playoffs. And the lead did go from a 10-point Denver Nuggets lead to a 3-point Nuggets lead at the end of that quarter. And I was questioning David Adelman. I know he'd mentioned in previous press conferences he wants to mix in more of the bench guys, get some of those starters off their legs, just save some of their minutes for later in the game. And I thought he was maybe going down the wrong pathway there. It did turn out, great, as Julian Strawther had a great game. We had Payton Watson make some contributions. Russell Wilson was a roller coaster just in that game alone. A lot of bad moments, but again, we'll get to that later. The Jokic game, we saw Jokic just get back to regular Jokic, and it seems like he has kind of figured out this Thunder defense. Would you agree with that, or do you think the Thunder still have one more curveball here in Game 7 for him?
I think he's starting to figure it out. He looked more like himself last night. Part of that was he didn't have to carry as much of an offensive load, but the turnovers in the first few games of the series were the unusual part for Joker. Some of those passing lanes that he usually can find just weren't there, and that's where the length of the Thunder was coming into play and giving him some fits. But he had the great no-look pass to Christian Braun underneath for an easy bucket that was like, okay, that's vintage Jokic. So he looked like himself. He looked less irritated by the physicality of Hartenstein. So I don't know that I'd say he's figured it out. There's always an adjustment. That's what makes series fascinating. It's the adjustment to the adjustment to the adjustment, right? It just goes back and forth and back and forth. But he did look more like himself. But he didn't have to carry the load. Like that was the key to it. At one point in the second half, the announcers were talking about how he'd only taken 9 shots. It's like, yeah, that's not a bad thing. If the Nuggets are in the game and Joker's only taking 9 shots, it means other people are doing something. So he got some help last night. That was the key.
Yep. And Troy, let's get those stats up on the screen here. We can check out Jamal Murray and Julian Strawther. Julian Strawther, do you expect this to continue into Game 7? Do you expect Jamal Murray to have a strong Game 7 as well? Jamal Murray's been a fan favorite, a cause of contention within Nuggets Nation due to the inconsistency. Do you think he finishes off this series strong?
Yeah, I think we've seen with Jamal over the course of his career. I mean, he's not called playoff Jamal for no reason, right? Like he comes up big in big moments. So I expect him to play well on Sunday. I do. Do I expect Julian Strawther to do what he did last night? Nope. And that's no disrespect to Julian Strawther. And I'm not trying to be, Debbie Downer. It's just we hadn't seen it the entire playoffs. It's kind of an aberration, but somebody's going to, or I guess I should say somebody needs to, right? Like, does it turn into Game 3 like Game 3 was for MPJ where he has 21? Does Christian Braun have another 23-point night? Does Peyton Watson hit some corner threes and end up with a 15-point game? Somebody's going to have to. Do I think it's going to be Julian Strawther? No, I'm not opening an app on my phone and putting where my mouth is and saying he's gonna. So somebody has to. They shot the ball better as a group last night. Because here's the other thing, Dante, about it. The Thunder didn't play poorly last night. They played really well. Like SGA had 32 on 16 shots. Like he was super efficient. Overall, I mean, I guess maybe Caruso wasn't quite the thorn in the side that he had been, but they played well. The Nuggets just played better. That's the most encouraging part of it. Like if you do win a game because the other team just can't throw it in the ocean, which has been the case for the Nuggets in a couple of these games, and the Thunder won, it's like, was that really us, or was it just them having a terrible night? That was my most encouraging thing, is the Nuggets beat the Thunder on a night when the Thunder were there to try and put the series away, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt the Thunder were trying to put that series away. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on the Thunder bringing their A game last night, and that's where I actually wanted to go to next. So perfect transition here. I was going to ask, how important was it that the Nuggets took advantage of a poor second half from the Thunder? We saw SGA in foul trouble. The Nuggets outscored the Thunder 32-21 in that third quarter. Thunder shot very poorly from deep, 3 from 20 in the second half. So to me, the Thunder, yeah, they played an all right first half, but the foul trouble of SGA, and they could not make a 3 in that second half. Those Dort 3-pointers that just seemed to stay in the air forever with anticipation, none of those went in. So how important was it that they did take advantage of that? And they did have a somewhat controlling win there into that fourth quarter.
Yeah, but they scored, 109 points? I mean, 61 the first half, so they had 48, quick math, in the second half. I know they didn't shoot well.
That was impressive, by the way.
What's that?
That was impressive.
I mean, they didn't shoot well from 3, but overall, they had a pretty good offensive half, right? It wasn't like the slugfest of Game Boy, they all run together. Game 4, when the Nuggets scored points in the first quarter and then couldn't score in the fourth quarter. I mean, the Thunder weren't like that offensively. So it was much more like Game 1, where it was a high-scoring affair. The Thunder were able to put the ball in the basket. Again, their best player had a really good night. I know he had foul trouble for 2 minutes in the second quarter, where he had to sit down, and that's where the Nuggets made that key rally there with Strawther hitting a couple of threes and putting up 8 points. But I just don't look at it like the Thunder played poorly. Did they shoot lights out from 3? No, but again, they still scored 109 points. Nuggets were just simply better. The Nuggets had their A game. When the Nuggets play like that, they can beat anybody. When the Nuggets play like that, Dante, it also puts away for me, it puts, maybe not away, but it raises some questions for me to all these people who just want to blow it up. Oh, if they don't win the title, blow this up. Really? When you see what this team can do when they're firing on all cylinders, you really think there's a trade out there that's going to be better? That's getting down the road. They still got a Game 7 to play, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. Listen, if they win on Sunday, those conversations are done. David Adelman's the head coach. Moving forward, let's just put it to bed. If they lose on Sunday, I guess it depends on how it looks. It would be interesting questions on both those fronts.
No, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually mentioned that to Zach yesterday as a segment that we're going to do on the drive, I believe next week at some point. But it was, are we sure the Nuggets should blow this up? They are in a Game 7 against the 68-win Thunder, the best team in the NBA this year, one of the most historic regular seasons we've ever seen. We have an injured Michael Porter Jr. who's hardly contributed, and the Nuggets are pretty poorly constructed in their bench. So to me, it was maybe it's just a little bit of a rounding out the edges versus a total blow up, total overhaul, and trading away one of the core 4. Again, we got a Game 7. We'll finish, let's get there before we get to the off season. And let's look back at the history of Game 7s for both of these franchises. We have the Nuggets 5-4 all time, 0-2 on the road. Thunder 6-5 all time, 6-1 at home, which it will be at home for Oklahoma City. Obviously, that's what you earn when you get those 68 regular season wins at home. And Nuggets Nation's been saying this all series. Hey, get it to a Game 7. These young Thunder won't know what to do. They'll tighten up. They'll, the nerves will get to them. The big moment will get to them. Do you see Game 7 going that way, or are you just writing off all of the, Nuggets championship experience, the Nuggets or the Thunder's youth? Do you think this is just a roll the ball out there and we're going to see both teams play at a high level, especially coming off 2 days of rest for both teams? They should be a little fresher than we've seen all series here. Or do you think that experience will factor in on Sunday?
I think it'll factor in, but I think it would be foolish to just count on the Thunder choking, right? Like, they also have SGA, the guy who's going to win the MVP. We all in this town think it should be Jokic, but either way, okay, then he's going to finish second for the second consecutive year, right? Like, they have a great player. They're in front of their home crowd. Nobody coordinates T-shirts better than Thunder fans, right? So they'll be raring to go. I don't expect them to choke. I don't expect them to fold. I think the key to the game, and it's been this way for every game in Oklahoma City, it's the first 6 minutes. And so, Dante, if you look up at the 6 minute mark in the first quarter, and it's, the Nuggets are within 4, 3, whatever. It's a close game. All right. They withstood that initial flurry, right? The buzzsaw. If you look up and it's like game 2, the blowout game, and they're down 14 halfway through the second quarter or the first quarter, go ahead and go out and mow the lawn. Save yourself the misery, because it's going to go that way. So we'll know in the first 6 minutes whether or not Denver's ready for the atmosphere they're going to go into. I think they will be, but the championship medal gets a little overrated from the standpoint of when they won a title, they had home court advantage in every series. Save for the NBA Finals, they had a 2-0 lead before they had to go play on the road in every series, which changes the dynamic of it immensely. Really, the only tough spot they had was 1-1 in the NBA Finals, having to go down to Miami, and you had to get at least one, right? You had to get one. They wound up winning both of them, but that's against an 8 seed, right? A team that it had no business being there. This is a different deal, going and playing the best team in the NBA on their home court in a game 7. I don't know that the Nuggets, to me, have a lot of experience in these kind of hostile environments that I'm going to go, I'll call upon that, right? Like, I seem to remember him getting boat raced in Phoenix when it was, Suns and 4 guy. I remember him getting boat raced in Golden State when they lost it and when they got, the gentleman's sweep. I get it. They didn't have Jamal in those 2 situations, but, find me the examples of where this group's gone into a hostile environment. I know they won in Minnesota last year, but it's not as though there's a ton of them. So I'm not quite sure they have a big advantage on that front. I just don't buy it.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned earlier in the show that this game 7 will be a little different than the previous 2 we saw versus the Clippers and versus Minnesota. Both different results in those 2, however, both at Ball Arena. This time the Nuggets will travel on the road for this one. How much do you make of, obviously it's going to be a hostile environment in Oklahoma City. Do you think it will help the Nuggets focus up being on the road, or would you rather this game be at home where we've seen some of these role players play a lot better during this series?
Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather have it be at home. Christian Brown shooting the ball last night just looked like a different guy than he did in Oklahoma City. I will say this about Thunder fans, and I don't mean this as a knock. I don't think it's a hostile crowd. I don't. I think they get loud, and I think momentum starts to go, right? When we saw that in game 5, when that lead started shrinking and somebody, it's Dort hits 1 3, then he hits another 3, and that gets the snowball going. But I don't think it's a hostile crowd. It's not like you're playing in Philly or New York or something like that. And, I always joke about Jokic plays in Serbia where they're causing fires in the stands. I don't think he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be intimidated by the blue-white every section with T-shirts. I just don't think it's hostile, but it's the momentum thing. Like, that to me it's a David Adelman thing as much as anything. Like, you got to use your timeouts wisely. To how do you, squash that, whatever term you want to use when it starts going that direction. You have to minimize the runs, and that's what the home crowd does with that momentum.
Yeah, and speaking of the stripes the Thunder will have in their crowd, did you have any problem with the Nuggets choosing the 5280 jerseys last night? To me, it just didn't feel like a big game jersey. I hated it the second I saw them out there in those. Did you have any thought of that? Or in game 7,
nope.
You can't be wearing a joke of a jersey like that?
I think they're undefeated in those jerseys in the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
I think so. So
the deeper stats you don't know.
It's a little bit like I saw that stat earlier, and I think that, earlier in the week, and I think they are undefeated in those jerseys. So I just think that, you play with in, superstition like that, I think does play a part in it. It's the Broncos being the home team in Super Bowl 50. and choosing to wear white because they, as a franchise, have never won a Super Bowl in orange. They won in blue. They've won a couple in white, but they've lost every time in orange, including Super Bowl 48 when they got blown out by the Seahawks. So I don't have a problem with that. If it's in your arsenal in terms of jerseys you can wear, and that's where you seem to play better in, roll them out. Otherwise, it shouldn't be in your closet if you're not willing to wear it.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I just like a more classic jersey, I guess, in a big game. But you can't fight with the the stats that you're coming with here, undefeated. And let's take a look at those Game 7 odds on Sunday. We got Nuggets +7 on Sunday versus the Thunder there. And Nuggets still +900 to win the whole thing. I believe they're the fourth longest odds still at this point. Do you feel the Nuggets are getting disrespected? It feels like it's, a 50-50 game at this point going into Game 7. This whole series feels like it's been a coin flip from the start. After Game 1, the Nuggets take that. Thunder answer back. Do you think the Nuggets have just as good of a chance as anybody else in the league at this point to, take it all?
No, I don't. And I'm not trying to be negative, but if they win on Sunday, who's looming? Minnesota.
And
there's no team in the league that's given them more fits than the Timberwolves. They'll still be the Nuggets will still be thin. Michael Porter Jr. will still have the shoulder injury. Now we got Aaron Gordon dealing with the hamstring. Like, there's just a lot of hurdles in front of them. They'll have home court advantage, so that helps. I don't know that they'll be the favorite to win that series, even with home court, to be honest with you. The East, if Boston can get knocked out, okay, that certainly helps. I mean, Cleveland's already gone. But I think the Knicks won 51 games, so that they would have home court over the Nuggets. You're rooting for the Pacers. That's what you're rooting for, which would be a great classic ABA matchup, Indiana and Denver, two of the teams that made it from the ABA into the NBA. But no, I don't think it's disrespect. I think if you had to rank who has the best chances right now, it's the Thunder. I think the Timberwolves are playing the best basketball in the league. I think it's then the Knicks. And then it's the Pacers, and then it's the Nuggets. Like, I just don't have an issue with that. Their flaws and their problems are still there, but I do think they should get a lot of credit. Not that there's moral victories, but I remember at the beginning of the playoffs when we were talking about it, and everybody said, "Hey, if they get to Game 7 against the Thunder and lose, David Adelman's going to get this job." Well, now here we are, and nobody's saying that. Now it's, well, you got to go there and win. So I get it. It's we all are prisoners of the moment, but no, the Nuggets, they're a flawed team. They're a banged up team, but hey, let's ride it as long as we can. Last night's victory bought us a few more days, so we'll take it. We'll take it. It sounds cliche. One day, one game at a time.
Yeah, and sorry, I lost my train of thought there. The David Adelman, the constantly moving goalpost for him to get this job. We'll see how that goes. And the I had one more thing I wanted to get to, and I lost my train of thought a little bit here.
I do think he should get the job. I do.
Oh, you do at this point.
Back to that topic you had on the drive yesterday, but our conversation you had with Zach, I do think he should get it. I do think it's prudent to run it back with this core. You got to add some bench guys. Clearly, that's a situation where can you go find your Bruce Brown, your Jeff Green. You got to find a Jeff Green, which sounds amazing to me that they haven't been able to replace him in a couple of years, of just a reasonable body, a big body coming off the bench. They got to do that. But no, you give it till the All-Star break next year. And if it's not working, that's when you make the trade. Don't do it in the offseason.
All right, I like that train of thought. I like, just seeing where we're at next year with the new coach, new GM. And this is what I did want to get to in terms of if the Nuggets are able to get past the Thunder on Sunday. They have Minnesota waiting. Minnesota's played 10 total playoff games at this point. The Nuggets would have played 14. Do you see that catching up to them, even if they are able to get out of Oklahoma City with a win on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a quick turnaround. When's that series start? I think it's
the 20th.
Yeah, which I believe is Tuesday. So, yeah, it's going to catch up to them. I mean, the fact that they've got 2 days off here and don't have to do anything today. Like, just David Adelman just gave him a day off. Let's not see each other. And the locker room acted like that was the best news they've heard in ages. So it's going to catch up to them. I don't buy the fatigue thing, right? These guys, you play basketball, you travel, you fly a charter jet, you stay in 5-star hotels, you have a masseuse and a chef and everything else. Like, I just don't buy it. But yeah, when you're playing that much basketball basically every other day, the schedule is going to catch up to you. But maybe that helps them a little bit too. If the Rockies had plenty of rest in 2007 heading into the World Series, how'd that work out for them?
That is a great point by James there. And let's wrap up the show here with some predictions for Sunday. I'll go first, if you don't mind, James. I got the Nuggets. I think they're going to get it done. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I think both teams have kind of figured each other out at this point. I'm going to go Nuggets 110-98. I think it's not particularly close. I think the Thunder do shrink in this big moment. I think SGA is going to play great. I just don't know if he's going to get enough help elsewhere. I think the Nuggets are definitely going to channel in on SGA as well, not let him get to the basket as easily. Try to force Lou Dort on those threes. Try to force Alex Caruso on those threes. Just try to make a lot of those role players that haven't, and I know Alex Caruso is an NBA champion, but just a lot of those role players that haven't been in these big moments with their major responsibilities of the team. And I think it might get to them. A lot of pressure's on them. They won 68 games this year, and that doesn't mean squat if you can't win on Sunday. If you go out in the second round, it's always going to be, oh, what a big choke job it was from the Thunder. So yeah, again, I got Nuggets, what did I say, 110-98. What do you got, James?
I hope you're right. Look, I'm going to pick the Thunder. I think there's going to be a moment where it starts to snowball, right? And the Thunder build a lead and the crowd goes nuts. And, Caruso's hitting threes and we're all yelling at our TV about his headband and we're mad at him and all that stuff. I think the Nuggets, and this is where Adelman's going to have to, keep his calm and keep his composure and remind the guys, hey, Minnesota was down 20 points in the second half in our building last year and came back and beat us. So don't unravel. I just don't see it happening. I think the clock strikes midnight. I think this team, as flawed as it is and as banged up as it is, I think the fact that they've gotten this far is a testament to David Adelman, Nikola Jokic, the championship medal of this group. I just don't think they have enough to overcome Oklahoma City. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Monday Richie is playing this clip and they're making fun of me, and I'll be happy to eat crow. But I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's first team to 100. I think it's Oklahoma City 100 to 93, 94, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. And so if the Nuggets were to lose on Sunday, it feels like one of the members of the Nuggets main contributors here would have to have somewhat of a letdown game. Who would you project that to be in your famous James Merrillat, I hope I'm wrong scenario?
I think the key to the game is Jamal Murray. He played great last night. They won. I think if he comes out and has a bubble Jamal type of game, they can win. They can win. We know Jokic is going to be great. Let's assume Aaron Gordon's healthy. Right? Then we know what we're going to get out of him. At this point, unfortunately, we know what we're going to get out of Michael Porter Jr., which is very little. If he can hit 4 shots like he did last night, we're all doing cartwheels. I think the key to the game is Jamal Murray. If Jamal comes out and scores 30, Dante, the Nuggets are winning the game. They are, unless he takes 35 shots to get there, right? But if he has a reasonably efficient game, scores 30 plus, they're going to win. I'll believe it when I see it. I think it's possible, but I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, and I would project the Thunder to try to take away Jokic as much as possible. I know that's not, easier said than done on the defensive schemes, and try to make some of these Nuggets others, quote unquote others, beat them. So that would be, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown hitting big shots. Hopefully, we will see Denver. It is, again, the two best words in sports. Game 7, Sunday, 1:30 ABC. We'll have Richie back in the saddle on Monday right here to break down hopefully a Nuggets win. And if not, we will be looking to the offseason, breaking down what went wrong in that game 7. But that'll do it for me, James. You all good there? Any last words?
You know what? I just hope Richie on Monday is talking about Denver's new folk hero, right? Like, that's the cool thing about a game 7 is there's an opportunity, Dante, for somebody to become the player you're talking about when you're an old man like me, right? It's Julian Strother and his 22-point game in game 7 at Oklahoma City. Like, that's the kind of moment that this is. So look, I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope it happens. I hope there's the MPJ redemption game, right? And Stink and Stoke and Mike Evans on Monday are eating so much crow for mocking that guy for the last 2 weeks. I hope, and that's what's great about game 7. So let's all be in front of our TV and screaming and yelling and rooting for that to happen.
Yep, we will. The will be rolled out. We will know our answer on Monday. And I'm just going to say it now. I think if the Nuggets are able to pull off Game 7 on Sunday, and I know this would contradict probably a majority of what people think, I think this would already be a more impressive postseason than them winning the ring in 2023. And I know it's not a championship, but just given the obstacles they've had, given the lack of depth, the firings, to me, it just would, already be more impressive than what they were able to accomplish in 2023.
It will be right up there with beating Seattle in 94 in the first round when they were an 8 seed as the best series win in Nuggets history. And that was a 5-game series. This is a 7, so I think this is more impressive. But that Seattle team was very much that's a team that was in the NBA Finals the year before, the year after. That was Sean Kemp, Gary Payton. That was a great team coached by George Karl. This would be the most impressive series win in the history of the organization if they pull it off.
All right. Well, we will see Sunday again, 1:30 ABC. That'll do it for the rundown. I'm your host, Dante Gomez. We'll have Richie back on Monday. But until then, go Nuggets. I do what I love what I do in second nature.